The cops sided with my wife when she made a false complaint. They walked into our house and decided I was the problem. It didn't matter that I'd never laid a hand on her. It didn't matter that all I'd done was raise my voice after finding out what she'd really been up to. They told me to calm down. She stood there shaking, playing the victim. And I swear, in that moment, I realized, the person you share a bed with can become a stranger in a single night. That was the night I got dragged out of my own home. But it was also the night I decided I'd stop begging to be understood and start letting the truth speak for me. And as fate would have it, I got my smoking gun. One that would destroy her perfect little act, her lies, and the job she thought made her untouchable. Before I tell you what happened, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me where you're watching from. Because this story I'm about to tell you, it might just open your eyes, maybe even save your marriage. And I'm not even kidding. For 10 years, I thought I knew my wife. We had 3 beautiful kids, a simple life in Chicago, and a bond that felt unbreakable. But I learned the hard way. Sometimes the person sleeping beside you is a stranger wearing a familiar face. And when that stranger decides to burn your world down, you'll find out what kind of person you really are. I found out that night. And by the time this was all over, so did everyone else. When people talk about falling out of love, they make it sound sudden, like you wake up one morning and the feeling's just gone. That's not how it happened for us. For us, it was little pieces that chipped away over time. A skipped kiss here, a distracted answer there, until the silence between us started feeling louder than any argument. I drive for Lyft, mostly nights, so I'm used to quiet hours, just me and the hum of the city. Chicago at 2 a.m. can feel like another planet. The good thing about that job is the freedom. The bad thing is how easy it is to disappear from your own home life. Meanwhile, my wife, Keisha, worked as an elementary school teacher. She loved that job. She'd stay up late grading papers, talking about her students like they were her own. She was the steady one, the responsible one. I was the hustler trying to make ends meet. We'd been married 10 years. We had twin boys, 9, and a little girl who'd just turned 6. To outsiders, we looked fine, maybe even happy. But inside, something had cracked. There were no more late-night talks, no date nights. Even the way she said my name sounded different, like I was a co-worker instead of her husband. One Thursday evening, I came home early from a shift. I wanted to surprise her with takeout from that Ethiopian spot she liked. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, whispering on the phone. The moment she saw me, her whole body stiffened. Then she laughed, a fake, nervous laugh, and said, "Oh hey, I'll call you back." The way she dropped her phone, screen down, made my stomach twist. "Who was that?" I asked. She said it was a parent from her school asking about the next day's field trip. At 8 p.m.? Yeah, right. I didn't press it, though. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that night, lying next to her, listening to her breathe, I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman beside me wasn't mine anymore. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things. She guarded her phone like it held state secrets. She'd smile at random messages, that quiet smile, the kind you only give when someone says something that touches you. She started dressing up more for work, new perfume, new hairstyle. When I joked about it, she brushed it off. A woman's allowed to look nice, right? Of course she was. But I could hear the guilt hiding behind her tone. One Sunday morning, over breakfast, I asked her if she was happy. She didn't answer right away, just stared into her coffee mug. Then she said, "I don't know." Those 3 words hit harder than any argument. I asked if it was me, if I'd done something. She sighed. "It's not you, Marcus. I haven't felt a connection in years." Then, like she'd been rehearsing it, she added, "Maybe we should separate for a while." Separate. After 10 years, 3 kids, and a decade of sacrifices, she wanted to throw it all away because she was disconnected. I panicked. I told her we could fix it. I promised therapy, vacations, date nights, whatever it took. She hesitated, then agreed to counseling. 6 weeks, she said. If nothing changes, we'll talk again. I clung to that small chance like it was oxygen. Therapy started the following week. Every Tuesday evening, we sat on that worn-out couch in Dr. Porter's office, pretending we were okay. The therapist asked about communication, trust, intimacy. I spoke honestly, said I missed her, said I felt her slipping away. She said she felt smothered, said I worked too much, said I didn't see her anymore. I wanted to argue, but part of me knew she wasn't entirely wrong. After a few sessions, Things got polite. Not better, just civil. We'd drive home together in silence. I'd try to hold her hand. She'd pull away gently, like she didn't want to hurt me but couldn't fake it either. By week 4, I noticed her texting again, more often, hiding her screen when I walked by. I told myself not to snoop. The therapist said trust was key. But every instinct in my body screamed that something was off. I even started second-guessing myself. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe therapy was supposed to feel uncomfortable. Then one night after a session, we were eating dinner and I asked, "Do you still want to make this work?" She didn't answer. I repeated the question. That's when she slammed her fork down and snapped. "You keep asking me that like it changes anything." I said I'd try. "Stop pushing." Her tone startled the kids in the next room. I apologized, said I didn't mean to upset her. But the look she gave me, it wasn't anger, it was disgust. Something inside me broke. That's the thing about being accused of paranoia. The moment you start defending your sanity, you've already lost the argument. The next evening, we got into it again, this time over nothing. I asked if she'd be home after work. She said maybe, and suddenly we were shouting. She said I didn't trust her. I said she gave me no reason to. She laughed, cold and bitter. "You want to control everything. You think you're the only one who's unhappy." I tried to walk away, but she kept talking, pushing every button she could find. Then I lost it. I swept a few dishes off the counter. Not at her, not even near her, just away from me. The crash echoed through the kitchen. The moment it happened, I regretted it. She stared at me with wide eyes, grabbed her phone, and said, "I'm done with this." I thought she meant she was leaving. What I didn't know was that she was about to make sure I left instead. The next night, 2 police officers showed up at our door. One asked if I was Marcus Turner. I said yes, confused. He said, "Your wife called. She's afraid for her safety. We need you to step outside." I laughed in disbelief. Afraid? Of me? They weren't laughing. Apparently, she told them I'd been violent, that I'd thrown things at her, that she was scared I might hurt her. I tried explaining. It was one outburst, nothing directed at her, but they'd already made up their minds. They told me to get some air, maybe stay elsewhere for the night. So I packed a bag, kissed my kids goodnight, and walked out. From the porch, she watched, arms folded, tears that looked rehearsed. That night I slept in my car, wondering how my marriage had turned into a police report. 2 nights after the cops had walked me out of my own house, I sat in the driver's seat of my car, parked under a flickering streetlight, thinking about everything that had gone wrong. I hadn't slept properly in days. Between work shifts, I'd shower at a friend's place, nap in the car, then head back out to drive again. Anything to avoid thinking about how easily she'd turned me into the villain. That afternoon, I was checking my dashcam footage, just routine maintenance. I use it for protection during rides, to handle passenger disputes or accidents. But one clip caught my attention. It was from earlier that week, mid-morning. I hadn't worked that morning. I was asleep. Yet, there was movement inside the car. I clicked play. The camera showed my wife. My wife, in the front seat, smiling. She looked relaxed, almost glowing, in a way I hadn't seen in months. Then a man climbed into the passenger side. He was tall, mid-40s, wearing a school district badge around his neck. They talked easily, laughed, and the sound of their voices filled my chest with heat. At one point, she leaned over and kissed him. I froze. I replayed it 3 times. No mistake. She was in my car, kissing another man. The timestamp made it worse. It was right after one of our therapy sessions when she'd told me she needed space to clear her head. She had been clearing it in my front seat. I sat there for a long time, jaw locked, staring at the frozen image on the screen. Then I scrolled through the memory card. It wasn't the first time. There were other clips, different days, same man. Sometimes they ate together. Sometimes they held hands. She'd even adjusted the rearview mirror once, smiling at her reflection before he got in. Her voice came through on one of the recordings. "You're so bad," she giggled. He answered, "If he finds out, I'll be the one calling the cops, not him." That line hit me like a hammer. I checked the name tag visible in the footage. Peterson. I remembered her mentioning a Mr. Peterson, a parent who volunteered at the school. I looked him up online. Married. 4 kids. Active PTA member. The kind of man who preached family values while sleeping with someone else's wife. That night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I drove home. She was folding laundry in the living room like nothing had happened. I stood in the doorway and said quietly, "Who's Peterson?" Her hands froze mid-fold. She didn't turn around. "Who?" she asked too fast. "Don't do that," I said. "Don't lie. I saw you in the car." She spun around, eyes wide. "You've been spying on me now." "It's my car, Keisha. It has a dashboard camera. You forgot I drive for a living." She swallowed, eyes darting everywhere but mine. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" "Because what I think is that you've been using my car to play house with a married man while telling cops you're scared of me." Her voice rose. "You don't understand. Then make me understand." I yelled. "Explain the part where you kissed him, or the part where you told him you'd call me crazy if I ever found out." We were shouting now. The twins came out from their room, scared. I told them to go back in. She started crying, not guilt, just performance. Then she said it. "You're out of control again." That word, again, lit a fuse in me. I slammed my hand against the wall, not near her, just to stop myself from saying something worse. She flinched, grabbed her phone, and bolted into the bedroom. A few minutes later, there was a knock on the door. 2 officers. Same pair from before. "Evening, Mr. Turner. We got another call from your wife. Said there was shouting, said you hit the wall." I tried to explain. "We argued. That's all. She's lying to cover her affair. I have proof." They exchanged glances. "Sir, we're not here to referee a domestic dispute. You're agitated. Best to come with us, cool off." I took a step back, shaking my head. "You're kidding me. Sir, don't make this harder." I shouldn't have argued. But when you've been accused of things you didn't do, every nerve in your body screams for someone, anyone, to believe you. I snapped. "So she cheats, lies, manipulates the system, and you drag me out again?" That was it. They cuffed me. I didn't resist, but I didn't hide my anger either. They charged me with disorderly conduct, a Class C misdemeanor. Nothing serious, but enough to put me in the system. At the station, the officer who processed me said quietly, "You seem like a good guy. Just keep your cool. This kind of stuff can ruin you." I nodded, but inside, something had already shifted. By midnight, my buddy Jamal came to bail me out. He shook his head when he saw me. "Man, what's going on?" I told him everything, the cheating, the recordings, the lies. He let out a long breath. "You gonna use that footage?" I didn't answer right away, because until that moment, I hadn't decided how. Driving home that night, the streets empty and wet with rain, I kept hearing the officer's voice. "This kind of stuff can ruin you." He was right, but not in the way he thought. It wasn't going to ruin me. It was going to ruin her. That's when the plan began to take shape, quietly and patiently. The next morning, she texted me, "Don't come near the house. I'm talking to a lawyer." I typed back, "That's fine. I'll see you at the PDA meeting next week." She didn't reply, and she didn't know that in 1 week, she'd be walking into the last place she ever expected her lies to fall apart. When you've been painted as the monster long enough, you start to wonder if people ever really see you again. For 2 days after that second arrest, I barely spoke to anyone. I just drove, miles and miles across Chicago, the hum of tires against asphalt drowning out everything else. She had filed for a restraining order. Temporary, she said. For the kids' safety. That line burned worse than anything. The kids' safety. The same kids I'd rocked to sleep and taught to ride bikes? I stayed at Jamal's place on the south side. He and his wife gave me the guest room, told me to keep my head down. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that dashcam clip, her in my car kissing him. Her calling me dangerous, while she was the one crossing every line there was. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt. It rearranges something inside you. By the third night, I was done feeling sorry for myself. I opened my laptop, pulled up the footage again, and watched every frame. Not for pain this time, but for precision. I edited out everything unnecessary. No names, no identifying license plates, just her and him, in clear view in my car. I wasn't looking for sympathy anymore. I was looking for accountability. Now, I know what some people might think. Revenge never solves anything. But when someone lies on you twice, gets you arrested, and still walks around like they're untouchable, it's not about revenge anymore. It's about truth. And I wasn't going to let her rewrite mine. A few days later, Jamal's wife mentioned the school's upcoming PDA meeting. Their son went to the same school where Keisha taught. That's when the idea hit me. The affair partner, Mr. Peterson, was a known parent volunteer, always around. His wife was active in the PDA too. If I wanted everyone to know what kind of people they really were, that meeting would be the stage. But I didn't tell Jamal the plan. Not yet. I wanted no interference, no leaks, no chance for her to find out ahead of time. Meanwhile, she kept texting about finalizing the separation and visitation terms. Her tone was colder, more confident, like she'd already won. That's the thing about people who manipulate. They get comfortable when they think the other person's defeated. They stop looking over their shoulder. So I played along. I replied politely, asked about the kids, even told her I was sorry for how things escalated. Let her believe I was backing off. Every text I sent was bait on a hook, and she took it, line after line. 3 nights before the PTA meeting, I couldn't sleep. I sat outside on Jamal's porch, watching the city lights blink. He came out, leaned against the railing, and said, "You're thinking about doing something, aren't you?" I didn't deny it. He exhaled slowly. "Whatever it is, make sure it don't land you in more trouble." "I'm not touching her," I said. "I'm just gonna make her tell the truth." He nodded. "Then make sure it's clean. No violence, no lies. Just truth." That's the thing about Jamal. He's the kind of friend who doesn't try to stop you when he knows you've already made up your mind. The day of the meeting came fast. I ironed a clean shirt, shaved, looked in the mirror, and barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, but because I felt calm. A dangerous kind of calm. The kind that comes when anger burns itself out and turns into focus. I put the flash drive with the footage in my pocket. Not as a weapon, but as evidence. The same kind of evidence she'd claimed I never had. The evening of the PTA meeting, I parked a few blocks from the school. The air was crisp, the kind that bites your skin but keeps your mind sharp. I sat in the car for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel, heartbeat steady. In my jacket pocket was the flash drive, the truth condensed into 4 minutes of undeniable footage. I turned it over in my hand like it was something sacred, because in a way, it was. It was the proof I'd begged the cops, the counselor, and even her to acknowledge. Now it was going to speak for itself. Inside the school, parents and teachers filled the multipurpose hall. Folding chairs lined the room, the smell of burnt coffee drifting from a table in the corner. The sound of chatter was almost soothing. I spotted Keisha near the front, standing beside a tall man in a gray blazer, Peterson. They were laughing with another couple. Her laughter was high and brittle, the kind that hides tension. When her eyes met mine, the laughter stopped. For a second, she froze, then looked away quickly, whispering something to Peterson. I ignored it. Instead, I walked over to the front row where a young IT guy was setting up the projector for the principal's slideshow. "Hey man," I said casually. "You handling the media stuff tonight?" He nodded, adjusting cables. "Yeah, everything runs through this laptop." I leaned in slightly, keeping my tone friendly. I actually put together a quick presentation, just a short video contribution about parent involvement. Thought I might share it if time allows. "Can I send it to you real quick?" He glanced at his schedule. "Yeah, sure. If we have a gap at the end, I can squeeze you in." "Perfect." I smiled, plugging my flash drive into the laptop. I copied the file into the folder he was using. There. It's under Parent Presentation, Turner. Should take just a minute to play. He nodded, unaware of what he'd just agreed to. I took a seat near the aisle, close enough to reach the front quickly when the time came. The meeting started with routine updates, fundraisers, school repairs, after-school activities. My mind drifted, every minute stretching thin with anticipation. Keisha kept glancing back at me, uneasy. She must have wondered why I was there, why I looked so calm. Halfway through, the principal announced, "If there are any parents who'd like to contribute feedback or presentations, now's your chance before we close." That was my cue. I stood slowly. "Actually, I have something short to share." The principal smiled politely. "Of course, Mr. Turner. Go ahead." I walked up to the front, nodding at the IT guy. "It's the file labeled Parent Presentation, Turner. Just play that one." He clicked it. The lights dimmed slightly as the projector flickered to life. I turned to the crowd, hands in my pockets. "Before that starts," I said, "I just want to ask a quick question." My voice carried clearly in the silent room. "What's the school's policy on teachers having relationships with parents?" A few chuckles, some raised brows. Nobody quite understood yet. Keisha's head snapped up. "Marcus, what are you doing?" I kept talking. "No, I'm serious. Because I think the rules say something about maintaining professional boundaries, right? that a teacher representing this school should avoid compromising situations. The video started playing behind me. At first, the sound was faint, just the hum of my car engine. Then came voices. Her voice. Laughter. "You're so bad," she giggled. "Then let's make it worth the risk," he said. Then the camera angle shifted, and the room gasped as the screen showed them. Keisha and Peterson, in my car, kissing. Every whisper, every faint sound of them laughing filled the hall like poison gas. Keisha jumped to her feet. "Turn it off. Stop it." The IT guy froze, eyes wide. I didn't know." Parents were whispering loudly now. Some covered their mouths. A few turned toward Peterson, who had gone pale. His wife was sitting in the second row. Her face drained of color. She looked at him, trembling. "You told me it was over." He reached for her arm, but she pulled away violently. "Don't touch me." She stood up, tears streaking her face, and stormed out of the room. Every eye followed her. Peterson turned to me, face twisted. "You son of a..." I took a step back, still calm. "Hey man, maybe next time, keep your hands off people's wives." That did it. He lunged at me, fist swinging wild. It connected with my cheek hard enough to sting, but not enough to knock me down. The crowd erupted. Parents shouting, chairs scraping, teachers rushing forward. I steadied myself, blinked once, and, before anyone could grab him, I swung back. One clean hit to the jaw. He stumbled, crashing into a table full of pamphlets. Gasps filled the room. Someone yelled, "Call security." Keisha screamed his name, rushing to him. But her voice didn't carry the same concern it used to. It was pure panic. I stepped back, chest heaving, and said evenly, "You can arrest me if you want, but at least now everyone knows who's been lying." The principal, pale and shaking, turned to the IT guy. "Turn it off. Now." The screen went black. The silence that followed was thick and electric. Keisha was crying now, crouched beside Peterson as he tried to stand. His lip was bleeding, his reputation in ruins. I looked around the room, parents avoiding her gaze, whispering, shaking their heads. No one was looking at me like the monster anymore. Jamal, who had been waiting outside, pushed through the door just in time to see security walking in. He grabbed my arm and whispered, "Let's go before this gets worse." We walked out together, the echo of murmurs following behind us. Outside, the cool night air hit like a wave. I touched my cheek. It was sore but manageable. Jamal looked at me. "You good?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, for the first time in a while." He exhaled. "That was a hell of a show, man." "It wasn't a show," I said quietly. It was the truth finally speaking. By morning, the story had already spread. Parents talked. Teachers whispered. The video had circulated. Someone must have recorded the screen on their phone. Within 48 hours, the school board called an emergency meeting. By the end of the week, Keisha was suspended pending investigation. Peterson resigned before they could fire him. And me, for the first time in months, I woke up without that knot of helplessness in my chest. I wasn't proud of everything I'd done, but I couldn't deny the satisfaction of justice finally catching up. For the first time in months, I woke up without that knot of helplessness in my chest. I wasn't proud of everything I'd done, but I couldn't deny the satisfaction of justice finally catching up. Later that afternoon, I drove to the house. Not to argue, not to gloat, just to finish what was already over. She answered the door in silence. The house smelled different, emptier somehow, like shame and stale air. The twins were at a friend's place, and our little girl was at my sister's for the weekend. For a long second, we just stared at each other. The woman who used to be my home looked like a stranger wearing her skin. "I came to tell you something," I said. Her voice was flat. "What now, Marcus?" "I'm giving you what you wanted," I said quietly. "The divorce." She blinked once, jaw tightening. Then came the disdain, the armor she wore when she didn't want to show hurt. "Are you happy with what you've done?" she said, voice trembling behind anger. "You think exposing me in front of everyone makes you a man? You haven't been one in a long time." I let the words land, but I didn't flinch. "You think this makes you strong?" she continued. "How do you think this will affect the kids? Everyone in their class will taunt them for it. They'll grow up hating you for what you did to their mother." I took a slow breath. "And whose fault is that, Keisha?" She froze. I stepped closer, my voice calm but sharp. "You talk like this just happened to you, as if you didn't build the fire you burned us in. You lied to me. You lied to them. You called the cops on me, twice, just to protect a secret affair. And now you want to blame me for the ashes." Her eyes glistened, but she refused to let the tears fall. "You were delusional," I said, shaking my head. "You really thought that man was going to leave his wife and kids for you? He didn't even defend you. He let you fall alone. And still, you want to play the victim." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, she had no performance left. "You want it out," I continued. "Now you have it. But you don't get to drag me down anymore. I'll make sure the kids are taken care of. You'll have your share. And that's it." She turned away, staring at the wall. There was nothing left to say after that. The silence between us was final. I signed the papers a week later. She didn't fight much. The school board had made their decision: termination for breach of ethics. Her teaching license suspended pending review. She'd lost more than her job. She'd lost her shield. We agreed on shared custody. I'd pay child support, cover school expenses, and take them on weekends. I didn't argue about money or property. We didn't have much, and I didn't need any of it. I moved out completely 2 weeks later. The apartment I rented wasn't big, but it was quiet, peaceful. The first night there, I unpacked only the essentials: clothes, my kids' pictures, and the dash cam. I held it for a moment, then set it in the drawer. The truth had done its job. It didn't need to play again. When the kids came over that weekend, they ran through the new place like it was an adventure. The twins fought over who got the couch bed. My little girl curled up beside me and said, "Mom said you two aren't mad anymore." I smiled faintly. Something like that. And in a way, she wasn't wrong. The anger was gone. All that was left was clarity. Some people think closure comes from forgiveness. Sometimes it just comes from finally walking away. People always say time heals everything. But the truth, time doesn't heal what you refuse to face. It just hides it long enough for it to come back sharper later. I'm not proud of how things ended. I wish my kids never had to see their parents split, never had to hear whispers at school. But if you asked me whether I'd do it differently, whether I'd stay silent while lies defined me, my answer would still be no. Because silence protects the wrong people. And truth, no matter how ugly, is the only thing that lets you breathe again. For a long time, I thought revenge meant hurting someone the way they hurt you. But it's not. Revenge, real revenge, is letting people live with the consequences of the world they built. I didn't ruin her life. She did that herself. All I did was stop covering for her. These days, I focus on my kids. I drive nights again, still listening to strangers talk in the back seat about love and heartbreak, and I keep my answers simple. Trust is everything, I tell them. And once it's gone, you better be ready to live without it. The scars are still there, sure, but so is the clarity. And peace, real peace, feels like finally exhaling after holding your breath for too long. If you've ever been lied about, gaslight, or blamed for something you didn't do, remember this: you don't have to scream your truth. You just have to live long enough for it to speak for itself. And when it does, everyone who doubted you will hear it loud and clear. Before I end this, if my story hit you somewhere deep, if you've ever been lied to, betrayed, or made to feel crazy for seeing the truth, then don't go just yet. Because on this channel, there are more stories like mine. Stories of people who were counted out, blamed, or broken, but found a way to rise anyway. If you've ever been through something like that, you'll understand, sometimes, hearing someone else's story helps you make sense of your own. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from down in the comments. I read them. I really do. Because every time someone shares their story here, it reminds me that none of us are really alone in what we've been through. And who knows, the next story you hear on this channel might be the one that opens your eyes, or saves your heart, the way mine taught me to finally protect mine.